Hi and welcome to our behind the scenes video from Cliff College Digital Week. This video is really just a taster of some of the things that we've done this week, not just in front of the camera, but also behind the scenes. It's obviously been a team effort, so you'll see a few of us from the innovation team, and you'll see some of the effort and the work that goes into putting together events like this week. Hopefully that this will be a resource, and again, as part of Digital Week, will also help to inspire you for things and ways in which you might look to do more digital events, and not be limited, but also allow yourself to run with mad ideas and sparkly waistcoats. So obviously at Cliff, over the last few years, we have been doing a reasonable amount of hybrid events, and we do this particularly with our in-college study centres. Probably the most important thing out of all of those is making sure that we know what's going on and having a clear list, and making sure that the people who are presenting also know that they're talking to the people in the room, but also talking to the camera, and just making people feel involved in that sense.
We're doing generation. It's very early, so I'm just setting up all the Zoom stuff and making sure everything's working before we go onto Zoom. We're doing it hybrid, in the room and online, so we need to make sure that both ways people are able to hear, and we're just finalising some final bits of how we're going to do Q&As on Zoom and also in the room. So everyone's ready to go into the Zoom room. We've just admitted all the participants in. We're just about to start. We're starting in about 5 minutes, so we're all ready to go.
We are mixing cameras to Zoom, so this is purely just for a post-event recording and for the Zoom participants. We have 5 cameras set up here, so we've got a straight-on camera 1, side camera 2, side camera 3, which are all our normal cameras in the chapel, and then we have a camera 4, which is for audience, so we will zoom in on audience members asking questions in the Q&A later, and then we have camera 5, which is a broader shot for the whole of the chapel.
In terms of hybrid events, we use Zoom for that, and we make sure that there is a camera feed going to Zoom so that people feel like they are being talked to at Zoom, and then we also make sure that the presenters can see people on Zoom on a screen at the front, so people in the room aren't necessarily aware, but the presenters are aware that they're talking to more than just the people in the room, so it just again helps them to feel like there's a wider audience there. So Cliff do communion every week, but we don't normally live stream it, and what we wanted to do this week was just to both be another point of connection for people to join with us in community, but we also wanted to make it just accessible as well. I know a lot of churches sort of struggle with how to make communion work online, and how to make it encompassing for people who are joining online, but also not make it intrusive and not make people feel uncomfortable when they know that they're on camera. So some of the things that we did around that were quite simple things. We didn't just want to show a static card, which I know is sometimes the sort of fail-safe option, but we wanted to put a few alternatives in there as well. So we tried 3 different things. We had a deliberately blurred out of focus camera shot, and what that I like that effect because it's a good way of showing movement in the chapel, but without showing people's faces and making them feel uncomfortable. So it helps people feel part of the activity online. We also used film footage from outside our surroundings here. We're obviously very lucky at Cliff that we've got such beautiful surroundings, but there's no reason why you couldn't film your own surroundings, whether that is an urban setting or a wildlife setting, or even finding footage from online. And again, because it's dynamic, it's moving, it helps you to feel like it's not just a static shot, it shows that it is actually a video and it is actually live. And then the last thing that we did was also we had a close-up camera just showing the bread and wine on the communion table. And again, because it's dynamic, you can see movement, you can see Ashley's hands moving across the top of it. And we didn't use it an awful lot, again, because of not wanting to feel intrusive, but actually still just to recognise the importance of the elements within the communion service. the Big Cliff Game Show. This was completely owned by the innovation team, and it was very much an hour event sort of activity. We've done sort of elements of this sort of thing in Celebration before, but this was sort of pulling all those elements together and making it into much more of a game show and a bit less of an activity within something else. We split off into 2 teams, so we had enough people to do that, and then those teams were then split off into breakout rooms, which obviously you can do quite easily on Zoom. And we had a few flashing lights and a few toys, but fundamentally this was practically built around having a Zoom account and using a few phones. Yes, we are lucky at Cliff where we've got more cameras and things to play with, but this is the sort of thing where actually you can do a very low-tech solution for making something feel quite interactive and not just sort of static questions being asked on camera. Luke made us some flashy intros, but the technology wasn't particularly complicated, as I said, and fundamentally there were just a few simple rounds. It was a spot the difference round, a treasure hunt, which we sort of adapted one that we had already written, a game of Pictionary, and a silly hat game. The first round, the Spot the Difference round, was actually using AI, so we actually used tools available that are built into software packages and are available online as well, and that was using AI to sort of regenerate and change elements of the photos that already existed. So it wasn't really us changing the photos, it was actually using technology to make it easier for us as well. A camera phone per team was then given to a student who then were the physical embodiment in the treasure hunt running around the site. And then we had computers back in the chapel in our sort of tech base where we were following where they were up to, so we could see how they were doing in terms of the treasure hunt and not just send people off into the wild and not know where they got to.
Every weekday morning at Cliff College, we live stream our morning prayers online, and we thought for Digital Week we'd do something a bit different and a bit more creative, and we'd do evening prayers as a special one-off for the week. Carol, our community warden here at Cliff College, created a series of evening prayers sessions around the different elements, and so we managed to capture these in a fairly creative way. 3 of those evening prayers were filmed in our chapel as we would do normally, but we set up a camera focusing on those different elements that she was focusing on each evening. Then for 2 of the evening prayers we decided to take it outside, do something a bit different rather than just staying in the chapel, and we did it by a fire outside, a sort of campfire prayers. And the first evening on Monday was the element of fire, and so it worked really well. We had a multi-camera setup with a gimbal camera to have a bit more movement added into what we were doing as well. However, we foresaw that our last evening prayers on Friday evening of Digital Week, the weather was going to be absolutely terrible. The rain was pouring down, and so we pre-planned and actually pre-filmed this evening prayers on a different day when the weather was good, so that it could still be done and broadcast in the same way by the fire, just to add a bit more creativity to what we were putting out there. This kind of thing though can be done very easily by anyone with any kind of camera and basic editing software. Take yourselves out of the environment that perhaps maybe your church or gathering is always seeing in the church building, and take it into the outside.
Hopefully you found this interesting and not be put off by the technology, but actually inspired by how this can help you. And like I said before, if you've got any questions about anything we've not mentioned that you're wondering how we did, or even you want some help or advice, then do please get in touch with us. See you soon.